Let's talk more about these protests. They continue across the U.S. Still 2 weeks now after the death of George Floyd. Thousands flooding the streets of New York this weekend for mostly peaceful protests there, where Mayor Bill de Blasio announcing yesterday that he will be ending the city's 8 p.m. curfew earlier than planned. But the weekend, well, it was marred by some violence in places like Portland, Oregon. A group of protesters there launched various objects at police late Friday night, police responding with tear gas and flashbangs. And then there was this in Minneapolis. Shouts of shame, shouts of go home Jacob for the mayor. That's Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. They're getting heckled by a crowd of protesters in his own city after he ruled out defunding the police department during that demonstration over the weekend. And joining us now to talk more about this is Maryland congressional candidate Kimberly Klacik, who just clinched the GOP nomination in that very important House race. Great to see you, Kim.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
Well, I was looking forward to speaking with you. We wanted to talk to you anyway now that you've clinched the GOP nomination for the seat, but very much looking forward to speaking with you about this, considering your background and your roots in Baltimore and what happened with the Freddie Gray case there, where you had a mayor and a state attorney, a city prosecutor who really, used politics to try and quell the protests in that city, and it didn't work out well. When you hear about these calls, specifically the calls from Congress to defund the police department, what would you do if you were sitting in the halls of Congress right now and you watch Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leadership kneel down in the halls of Congress, basically, admitting, defeat to these rioters and looters?
Yeah, I know. This does remind me of what happened in Baltimore in 2015, where our mayor said that she would give rioters and looters a place to destroy or room to destroy. This is pandering for votes. I mean, obviously, in November, Speaker Pelosi and her friends definitely want to be reelected. But it is very dangerous to even think about abolishing or defunding the police department. When you have police officers, especially in Baltimore City, where we're down a lot of police officers, we have a lot of crime and violent criminals out here on the streets that really just continue what they do because we don't have a lot of police officers that are able to work some of these cases and get these people apprehended and off the streets in a quick manner. After the riots in 2015, our numbers have gone up. Last year, we had over 348 homicides. We have been hitting record numbers each year, and we're going to do even more than that. We're projected to do more than that this year. So I know the left once said they wanted to abolish ICE. I guess they realized, they are the ones who actually handle human trafficking. So they kind of went back on that and backtracked, luckily. But abolishing the police department and defunding them is a crazy idea. You'll have neighborhoods and people that can afford security. They'll have what they need. And then those that cannot, well, they'll be in a lot of trouble.
Do you think there'll be voter backlash in places like Minneapolis against Democrats and people who actually support these plans? I mean, I can't imagine being a business owner in a city like Minneapolis or a city like Baltimore trying to scratch out a living and then to find out that the people who you normally call when you call 911, if your building is being looted or if there's somebody sticking you up with a robbery, that those folks aren't going to be there anymore. That's the thing here, right, Kimberly? We don't know what's going to come in place of the police department as it exists now.
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't seem to have a plan. All we hear is defund or abolish police, but there's no actual plan. And so if they're thinking of community policing, I mean, we remember what that looked like when it came to George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. So again, this is something that the left has not thought through. It's more about pandering for votes, and it's really sad. And I'm sorry to say that, if I do make it to Congress, that these will be my colleagues, but you better be sure, John, I'll have a lot to say to them.
Well, that's kind of the problem, Kim, right, is that the thing that's, I think, so frustrating when you see Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and some of these old-time Democrats, Chuck Schumer among them as well. These are the same people, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but these were the ones who advocated for Bill Clinton's 1994 crime bill that created a lot of these problems in the first place, right?
Absolutely. And then my opponent, Kweisi Mfume, he signed on that crime bill as well. And here he is back in office now because of the special election, but hopefully I'll defeat him in November. But yeah, these are the same individuals. And I have to remind the average American citizen, these individuals walk around with security, Capitol Police every single day, so they will be safe. It is us Americans out here on the streets doing our everyday job that will not be safe.
Let's talk about New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio for a second. We'll move away from Baltimore because he defended the NYPD on Friday and rejected growing calls to slash the police department's budget as outraged as everyone is over the department's handling, everyone on the left is, of the post-curfew protest mounts. Here's the mayor of New York City.
You will see change in the city. You will see change in the NYPD. We simply have not gone far enough. This status quo is still broken. It must change. I do not believe it is a good idea to reduce the budget of the agency that is here to keep us safe.
You know, it's not often I agree with Bill de Blasio, and I still think there's a lot of self-preservation wrapped into that soundbite. But this is the difficult situation these mayors are in. They have kind of towed this line. They've hinted that they might be in support of some of these left-wing radicals. But now, when they're actually being told they want to defund their police departments, they have to stand up and say, you know, that might not be such a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. They know exactly what kind of mayhem that would lead to. And this is the first time I think I've ever agreed with de Blasio. But, you know, Rudy Giuliani, we remember New York City well and what they were going through as far as crime. And Rudy Giuliani, he did a lot to put New York, you know, back into basically safety. You know, there was a lot going on there. So de Blasio understands calling for that, along with the bail reform that they put in place that was a total disaster. Not too long ago, I believe that was just last summer that they did that. Now they're trying to make sure criminals show up for their cases, and that they're having a hard time doing that. So they know what this could lead to. And so, yeah, I agree. De Blasio, he's going to have a tough battle here by saying that's not the way to go, but hopefully explains to his citizens and everyone across America just how dangerous that could be.
Yeah, there seems to be no limit to what these folks want to funding the police department. Again, our concern is what comes next. And, you know, there's always time and a place for reforms to make things better, make the process better. But just getting rid of police once and for all seems like a rash thing to do. And not a serious policy proposal for most folks, but it is gaining traction, surprisingly so. Kimberly Klasick, great to talk to you as always. Look forward to our next conversation. Good luck in the race there in Baltimore, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, John. Thank you.